my studio. I am Stephanie, the Everyday Sewist, and I welcome you here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me and to see what kind of things I've been doing. And if you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. And I want to thank all of those who have subscribed recently. It means a lot to me and I really appreciate it. So I want to say a quick thank you to Nancy, Victoria, Denise, Kathy Babe 4, Laura, Emma1, Clara, Janice, Lisa, Cynthia, Evelyn, Peggy, and Daisy. Thank you all so much for subscribing and joining me on this journey. So I want to get started because I have a ton of things, and just when I think I'm not sure I have that much to share with you, I do. So first I want to start with the quilt that is behind me. Some of you may recognize it. It is Moda Blockheads 4. I have not done 5 or 6. I think this is the only Moda Blockheads that I completed, and I finished it in 2023. It is my own setting for these blocks, and the quilting design on it is called Dandelion, and it's by Melanie Campbell. The background fabric, this pretty little blue and white print, this is by Victoria Finley Wolf, and I was lucky. I just squeaked out enough of it for all of my backgrounds. I think if I have a crumb left, that's a lot of fabric. Also, I love this striped print by Victoria Finley Wolf. I think it's perfect here. This green sashing fabric is a Free Spirit, and I think the color was called Cricket. But I thought it was a really pretty green. There is a plain white in all the rest of the sashing, just a Kona white. And the backing fabric is this wonderful parrot print from Tula Pink, from I think it was her Daydreamer line. And the binding is an Anna Maria Horner, one of my favorites. It's the same thing that you see in the border. So, Moda Blockheads, it's quite it's a really big quilt. I didn't get the measurements on it, but I'm thinking I made it around 94 by 94, somewhere around there, and so it's queen size. And I quilted it myself, of course, on my Handy Quilter. I have a Handy Quilter 24-inch arm, and I have the Pro Stitcher computerized program on it. So that was a wonderful thing to finish. I love that it's kind of springtime-ish, and hopefully we're going to be getting into spring really soon. We're getting a little bit warmer weather this week, and so if the snow melts, I would be just fine with that. It kind of has been hard to go outside and do my running lately. It gets a little slippery. A lot of the sidewalks aren't cleared, so I'm running in the street, which is fine in our neighborhood. It's a pretty quiet neighborhood, but I would really love to get back to running out at the park again and having just a little bit warmer weather. So that is the display quilt that I am using this time, and I hope you enjoyed seeing that. I have some finishes to show you as well. A couple of these I'm going to go through kind of quickly because I have shown them in the previous episodes. But I thought I would show you that I did actually finish the binding on my Neptune quilt, and so I just used a kind of a plain blue on the edging on the binding, which I really like. I used some of that, and then I used some of another print because I didn't have enough of one, so I have a combination of 2 different binding fabrics. The other thing I did that I really am going to start doing more and more of is I put a little label on here, which I think is really cute. And this one says handmade. So I ordered some more. They haven't come yet, but I ordered some more little labels because I really enjoyed putting that in on this quilt. I did do a hand stitched binding on this one because I think I'm keeping this quilt. I don't have a person that it's going to yet. But anyway, I still think I really enjoy having those little labels on it. And so I'm going to do that more and more. So I got the binding done on that one that I didn't have done last time. And that was my second finish for 2026. So my third finish for this year, and you had seen this one before also, but I hadn't gotten the backing in yet. And so I'm going to start out by showing you the back because it's minky and you can see the quilting design really well on it. And I think it came out really wonderfully. I forget the name of the design already, but I really like it. And I will put a note in the description box as to what the pantograph was that I used. So this is the front of my Stashbuster quilt. And last time I was waiting for this backing to come in. So as soon as it did come in, I got it on and got it done. I also did just a plain black binding on this one. And I am working on being able to do my bindings by machine a little bit better. So the next couple of quilts you're going to see, these are all bound by machine. It's really nice to be able to get that quilt trimmed up and get that binding on front and back all in one sitting instead of doing a lot of handwork in the evening. And I do like doing handwork, but I have other handwork projects that I want to work on. And so I'm trying to get those bindings done a little bit quicker. I don't have any really special tips for doing binding by machine, but I will think about it. If you have questions about it, I will try to answer any questions that you have. The only tip I can give you on that is that I do cut my bindings just 1/8 of an inch larger, wider strips when I am doing the binding by machine because I find that I need just that little tiny bit of extra room to stitch that binding down. So that was my third finish of the year. And my fourth finish of the year was, let's see, it was this one. And this was my double slice quilt. And I had the top done last time, but I didn't have it quilted or bound. So I managed to get that one completely done. And I pieced my backing because I didn't have enough of either of these fabrics to make the backing out of just one. And I really need to use up some of these big chunks. I was very tempted, and I'll show you the other one too. I was very tempted to hang on to this print especially because it would have made a really great fabric to use in another project. But I really don't want to keep adding projects to my list of projects to do. And I'll talk more about that later. I tend to hang on to some of these fabrics that I really like instead of using them. And you know, there's always going to be more fabric So I decided to go ahead and use it because it was cute and it suited this particular project. So I had to disappear there for a second, pick this one up off the floor. So the other project that I got quilted and bound is the companion quilt to the one I just showed you. And remember I said I had cut both of these out at the same time from a stack of half yards and fat quarters and yardage that I had. And so I got on a roll and got this one quilted and also did a pieced backing on this one. Now I did do one of my Wednesday shorts. I show you how I did the backing for this, and I'm going to keep doing that because hopefully that's something that will really help you to see how I come up with these pieced backings. If it does, I'm happy to share how I do it. So again, this one used 8 fat quarters, and I made the backing kind of like a 9 patch. And I quilted it with a design called Flurry because this fabric has some cute little guys skating, and so here's a good spot for me to show you what the quilting looks like. So it has these pretty snowflakes on that are pretty good sized scale print or scale design on this, and a red plaid for the binding. Again, cutting that binding just slightly wider so that I have room to wrap it around and stitch it down by machine. So those are all my finishes since last time, and most of them just needed either binding or quilting and binding. And so I'm glad I was able to get those finished. So now I wanted to show you what some of my works in progress. Since I got those done, now I could kind of turn my attention to some things that I wanted to piece. And the first one is actually my Kawandi piece. And since I'm still working on stitching all of the green pieces around, I'm going to wait until next time to show you that when I have my second round of patches sewn down. But I am making good progress on it, and I stitch on it, I'd say every other day or so. I did a little bit this morning. And so it is getting done, and I should be ready by the end of the month easily to go on to the next color when it's announced. And I'll show it to you then. The other project that I am working on a little bit at a time is my color wash quilt. Let me get that out. My color wash quilt is the one that is done with the instructions from Terry Rowland. And one of the suggestions from last time was that if I'm kind of stuck on a project, that I spend 15 minutes, 30 minutes working on it and see how I feel about it and maybe get it kicked back into gear. Well, I did that with this quilt, with this project a couple of times, and I've made about another 30 blocks. I forget how many I need altogether, but it's somewhere around 400 or 500 of these, because these finish at 3 inches, so it takes a lot of them. And there's still a lot of room in my bin here, so I don't think I'm going to be done making blocks until these stacks are all quite a bit bigger. But what I figured out is that if I could do this as a block a day, or the equivalent of 2 blocks, 2 of these a day from my scraps, that I could have all the blocks done by the end of May. And so that's my goal. I am going to keep trying to work on this a couple blocks a day, keep tackling those scrap bags that I have, that I showed you last time, those huge 5-pound bags of scraps. I'm going to keep digging into those and keep trying to cut the pieces for these and see if I can get this one knocked out, at least the blocks made by the end of May. So now I have a goal for this one, and maybe it won't sit in between and have so many long stretches where I don't work on it. So that goal of like kind of jump starting it and working on it for 30 minutes has kind of gotten me reignited to make some progress on it. So that one is coming along. Let me show you the next one. So the next one I needed to kind of jump start again is my string quilt. And I have a stack now of 10 of these blocks. And I use a paper foundation when I'm piecing. When I have been dividing my green scraps up, I was looking for strings that I could use to add some more green into my blocks. And I have already cut my paper foundations. These are 10-inch squares, and I drew a line on the diagonal, and I drew my 1/4 of an inch on either side of that diagonal so that I could, let me show you one of these again, so that I could put my 2 light colored strips together at the beginning and then add my colors. Why do I have 2 light strips in the middle? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't remember what I was thinking. But that's the way this first batch was when I pulled them out of their tub. So I just followed along, and I'm going to keep doing that. I have plenty of neutral colored strings. I have plenty of other colors to use, like tons of other colors. So I am just going to keep on with what was there, and I have several more squares cut that I can start doing my foundation piecing on that. And I have not been doing one of these or 2 of these every day, but when I do, I try to do like in pairs, 2 at a time or 4 at a time, and try to make some progress. Because they'll finish at 9.5 inches, I think I figured out that I need about either 48 or 54 blocks, and I have 10. So it'll be a while, and if I can just make some progress on it and pull it out to make a couple, 2 or twice a week, then it will eventually get done. So the third one that I am working on is this one called Offset. I've showed you that before. I'm getting closer to having all of these individual pieces that I need for it, these individual little blocks. If you missed my live stream earlier this month, this is the project that I was working on. I was stitching some of those up and got 50 of these little 2-piece units made during the live stream. And so that got me jumped forward a little bit, and so I was really happy to have some progress made on that. So I do work on this from time to time. So that's 3 little works in progress. I've got a couple more. I keep rotating rotating back and forth. I'll do one project one day, I'll do another project the next day, I'll do my Kawandi another day, and then I just kind of keep going back and forth as I've been experimenting and trying to jumpstart these projects, some of these projects again. So this is my disappearing hourglass, and I am making small, steady progress on this. I have 27 blocks made, and I have all of my hourglass blocks made. I just need to keep cutting them as per the directions and turning the pieces and then sewing them back together. That's how that one works. And these become this. And that was a tutorial from Missouri Star Quilt Company. I was asked to do a tutorial on this, on what I was doing with that. I am happy to do it, and I probably will go ahead and do a short tutorial on that, but it won't be until March because I won't have time to do it until then. But if you don't want to wait until I show you, I'm basically using the instructions, like I said, from the tutorial by Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've put that link in the description box, so you can always check that out and make one. I think it's going to be a really good stash buster. I've enjoyed that process of making those blocks really quite a bit, and so I could see doing it again in another colorway or with a layer cake, because it is written for layer cakes. And yeah, I could see doing it again. So it's been a really great project to work on. And then I have two other projects to show you, and this is all because it had been suggested to me to look at my old projects, and in trying to decide whether or not I wanted to keep going on them and do that 15 or 30 minutes a day, there is one that I actually did make significant progress on. And so it's almost like it's a new start, because there was almost nothing done of it when I pulled it out. Matter of fact, there was so little done on this quilt that I probably could have just put all the fabric back into the tub and, you know, been fine with that and moved on to something else. But I decided to make this quilt my Olympic project because I'm watching the Olympics as often as I can. I had such a fabulous evening watching the opening ceremony and doing the cutting for this quilt. And I finished the cutting the next day. And so what I am working on is a quilt from Kathy Doty's book that I've had for many years. I probably had this book on my shelf for over 10 years. And I really like it, and I always had wanted to make this. This is the project that I want to make. And I want to do it just as she has here, with basically what I would call 9 blocks, although it really isn't blocks like that. Mine is going to be made with flannel. And so I have cut all of my lights and all of my darks, and it's not going to be by color groupings. I just a long time ago had decided and thought that this would make a really good project for flannel, and boy did I cut up a ton of flannels to do this in the lights and darks. And if the sewing on this is as fun as it was to see all those strips getting cut up and all those fabrics getting cut up and put into good use, I could see doing this one again too. So I'll have to show you the progress on that as I start sewing, because so far it's just all cut out. But that was another really great project to get moving again. I don't even know when it was that I had first started gathering. It was years and years ago. So I'm really happy to have some progress made on that one. And then the next one I just took out, and all I did was decide that yes, I do want to make it, but I won't have time to start or do anything with it until next month. And I have a pile of these elongated 9-patch blocks. I'd made a quilt for my nephew, and I changed some of the color scheme a little bit, and I ended up not using these blocks. And there are 17 of them. They finish at 9 by 12. And so all of these rectangles are 3.5 by 4.5 cut. And I want to make more of these, enough to do another smaller sized quilt. The one I made for my nephew was queen sized. And so I don't need to make one that big this time, but I have a whole drawer full of solids that I could pull from for that. And so even though I haven't started working on it yet, I looked at it enough and familiarized myself with it enough to know that I do want to make it, and it will go on to the list. So those are all my works in progress and my potential works in progress. And each time I do an episode, I'm going to show you another project or two that I have pulled out that and tell you what I think about them. And tell you whether I think I'm going to do it or not do it. And if I'm not going to do it, then I'll let you know what I'm going to deal with it, whether it's something that goes back into my stash or gets donated as is or whatever. So that'll be something kind of fun, that each time I will dig into those UFOs and try to make some decisions on them. And I have about 60 UFOs. And so if I do 2 a time, that'll take us a while to get through giving you a peek at all of those UFOs that I have. So speaking of that, though, last year I started 44 projects, and I finished 33 of them. So that leaves 11 projects that I started last year that I did not finish. And I did look at that list again, and of those 11 projects that I did not finish, 4 of them I did finish in January, and I showed you some of those today. So out of those 11, now I'm down to 7. I think I will finish another 3 or 4 of them over the next month or 2. And I think I've identified 3 of them that do not excite me anymore and will end up being, I won't say discarded, but being either repurposed or moved into another something or other. So I know that I'm pretty sure there are 3 that I will not continue with. But that would be pretty good if only 3 of those out of 44 starts end up getting completed into quilts. But it does give me pause to think about, I need to be more careful about what I start. and hopefully being able to not start quite so many and be able to finish. So that is going to be something that I'm going to try to be mindful of going through the year. And so I have not joined in any new sew-alongs or anything like that at this time, because I still have so many projects that I want to finish and kits that I want to make from my own stash. So, with that being said, the one project that I have on pause right now is my mystery quilt. I am happy enough that I've got enough going on right now in February. All of those whips that I showed you, that I'm just going to set the mystery quilt aside until next month, and I'll maybe bring it out in March, and if not March, I can bring it out maybe in April. So that's okay, and I don't mind it taking a break for a little while. So next I have a little bit of old business, some comments that pop up, and so I thought I would go through and respond to some of the comments and ideas that people have left ideas for in the comments, because they're so good and I want to share them with you. One is that with the block a day that I had kind of challenged myself on, and I know a couple of you are doing a block a day. The one challenge was looking at older projects and working on them for 15 to 30 minutes and testing them out, and that's why I said I'd been really pleased with my progress on the block a day. Even though it's different blocks each day, not the same block each day. But I want to share a book with you that I brought back out again, because I thought it had a really good idea for a setting for these block-a-days. One of the block-a-days that I saw was doing what I call I think it's a shoe fly block, and it's in this book, At Home with Country Quilts, and I really liked this setting when you don't have too many blocks to work with. And because someone had suggested that when she got done with a block a day, or even if it was a block a week, you might not have enough to set those blocks and make a big enough quilt. And so when I saw this design idea and it incorporated those blocks, I thought it was would be a really wonderful way to set a smaller grouping of blocks that you might have. So I kind of put a bookmark in it, and I've kept this book out to remind myself. So I'll show you that picture once again. And Cheryl's quilt, Cheryl Wall, the author, her finished block size was 6 by 6. But I think the nice thing about this setting is that it could certainly be adjusted for other size blocks. And so if you like that setting, you might want to look into this book. It was published quite a long time ago, and I think when I got it, I bought it used on the secondary market, and I think it's still out there, and if I find it, I will put a link in the description box for it. And this one was from Amy about the temperature quilt that I showed you last time. And she says that a friend of hers made a temperature quilt for her birth year. And so it's already February, and maybe it feels too hard to catch up to have a temperature quilt for 2026. But don't feel limited by the fact that you need to do it for this year. You could do it for your birth year. You could make a temperature quilt for starting at any time of the year, maybe from birthday to birthday, or any year that is particularly important to you. And so I wanted to pass that little tip on. And I have a comment from Lynn. I had asked about unfinished quilt tops. Having so many quilt tops hanging and ready to be quilted and not sure what to do with them all. And Lynn had a great idea. She decided to go through her unfinished quilts and designate one for each family member. And she says she has a large family, so she went through, and because she decided to and had chosen a family member to receive that quilt, it gave her a lot of motivation to finish those quilt tops. And not only did she finish all her quilt tops, but she ran out of tops for family members, and so now as she's making more quilts, she can have a better idea of who that quilt top might go to. And I thought that kind of a motivating idea was wonderful. And so way to go, Lynn, getting all of those quilt tops finished. That's excellent. So I really appreciate all the comments that you leave in each of the videos, and I hope that by passing some of those on, they help some of you to come up with ideas as to what you want to make or who you want to make things for, and keep that joy of creativity going. So I have 2 new starts, and I've already shown you them, but I'll just remind you. So my new starts was the disappearing hourglass in the red and white that I started in January, and then my quilt that I decided to do for over the period of the Olympics to work on as my main project over the Olympics. And that is my flannel strip quilt from the Making Quilts book, from this book. So that's enough. They won't get finished in February, not by any means, but that's okay. And I will try to keep myself from starting anything else until I finish a couple more things. There is one new sew along that I heard about, and that is with Brenda of Conquering Mount Scrapmore. That's a Facebook group. I don't believe there is any other website or anything associated with that. So if you wanted to check it out, it's called Twinkle Twinkle, and it starts on February 25th of 2026. And if you are on Facebook, you could go look at that group, ask to join it, and find out what they're making. I don't know. I didn't see. I think it's a mystery format. So I don't think we get to find out what the quilt is going to look like until we start doing the clues on it. Next, I have my haul. Things that I have bought. I've been trying to be really good, but I haven't been. I did get my backing in for the Stashbuster quilt and got that all done. You saw that. That was, I had bought black minky for the back of that quilt. So that's all said and done. That's not sitting in my stash anymore. And then the other thing, one of the other things I bought was, I haven't even unwrapped this yet, these quilt storage bags, which were on sale through Missouri Star. And I bought several of them because when I gift a quilt, I know I could probably put it in a pillowcase, and I've heard that done a lot, and that is also totally a great idea. But when I gift a quilt and I know, like, for instance, my mother has a couple of quilts, and I thought I'd really like to put a couple of the quilts that I've given to her in these storage bags. And they're a pretty good size. And they have a little window opening here, plastic window opening. And I think this it'd be really nice for storing these in her closet because she's got limited space. And so I thought that a couple of these would be really, really handy. And the next time I go out there, which is very soon, I'm going to bring a couple of them and look at the quilts that she has and get them stored away when she's not using them. And so I'm pretty happy with that purchase. I think that's going to work out really well. And the other thing that I got has nothing to do with quilting. It has to do with one of my new favorite things to do, and that I want to just tell you about because it's fun and it's what I'm doing these days. I am making sourdough bread, and so I've gotten some more supplies for making sourdough bread. And so here's some of my sourdough. I have more than I need in here right now, and I don't need to refresh it until it's almost gone. But I have my starter. Now this starter, even though I haven't been very active in making it until recently, I had kept this in my freezer for a long, long time. And I started this starter when we first moved here or shortly thereafter. And so this starter is over 20 years old. And it is, even though it has been frozen on and off several times over the last 20 plus years, it is good and bubbly and shareable and makes wonderful bread. And so I thought I would show you the one of 3 loaves of bread that I made yesterday. I haven't sliced it yet. I will do that later today. And this recipe is from Liza's Farmhouse, and it's called Same Day Sourdough Bread. And it is so yummy, and it was really quite simple to make. And so that's just something that I've had a lot of fun with lately. And if you have any fantastic sourdough recipes that you would like to share, please put that in the comments and let us know what you're making. Let me show you a couple more things that are for Valentine's Day. This video is coming out probably after Valentine's Day, so I hope you had a wonderful time with people that are special to you. And I will show you just a couple of the projects that I have that are, I guess, kind of Valentine-ish. So the first one is this pillow. And this pillow is made from flannel fabrics, so it's really nice and soft and fuzzy. It is a chenille, make your own chenille technique. I can try to find the tutorial that I used for it. This one I think used 4 layers of flannel, and this is the flannel that I used to make this pillow. And this flannel is a Robert Kaufman Mammoth Junior flannel. Let's see, what is the name of it? I'll have to find the name of that. It's kind of worn off here, so I can't get the name of it. So I made that a couple years ago, and because it's kind of nice and soft and fuzzy, it's a nice project to have out in the winter time. So I made that. I also made, this is one of the heart quilts that I still have left. I backed it with a different flannel. So everybody needs to have a heart quilt. So this one is really fun, really nice to have out on the couch at this time of year. It is a throw size. It just has a swirly pattern on the back for a quilting design. And I have this table runner. I don't know if this caught your eye or not, but I have this table runner with the interlocking hearts. And that one was a really fun one to make as well. So I do have a couple of little projects out for Valentine's Day. And if you have had a chance to make some and enjoy them this month, I think that's wonderful. There are all kinds of ideas out there, of course. So there are a couple of my Valentine's projects, and I hope you have had a chance to either make some or put some of your wonderful Valentine's projects out and enjoy them this month as well. So I will be gone for pretty much the rest of the month. Out visiting my mother and taking care of her. It is, my mom is just so easygoing and so easy to be with. It's hard to be away from home for a couple of weeks, but it's not because of her. It's just because it's hard to be away from home for a couple of weeks. So that might affect my taping of my next video, because when I'm with her, I don't have a sewing machine there. So I won't be really working or making any progress on anything for a little while. So it may be a little bit before a new episode pops up. I will be doing a live stream. I'm pretty sure I will be able to do one on March 7th. Saturday, March 7th from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time. So you can look for me then, and I'll catch you up on what I've been doing. So that's all for me this time. Again, I thank you so much for joining me and for subscribing. I hope it's been really fun for you to see these projects and maybe give you some ideas as for future projects and things that you would like to make. So thank you again for being here, and we'll see you in a few weeks. Bye-bye.